Hey everybody, Dave here from Dave Tries to Fix Stuff, channel dedicated to the repair, restoration, and resurrection of broken stuff. In today's episode, we are going to be revisiting the Yamaha DG80 that we started in a previous video. That last video we had focused on me getting the power amp in the amplifier to work again. There was no output at the power amp. If you go back and watch that video, it is, I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's like a 40-minute video that ended up being the replacement of a fuse. So not the most exciting of videos, but there are a few other things I fixed on it as well. But for the most part, it should have turned out to be a pretty simple fix. But in this video, we are going to be focusing on the cabinet. As you can see, it has had the Tolex removed from it. The Tolex was in really bad shape, as was the speaker grill, the grill cloth on the speaker grill. I had a bunch of footage that was already shot for this. I did a lot of work on this already. The unfortunate thing is that the filming I did for that, all the footage I got, I had some issues with a hard drive I had it on, and the footage was lost. And sorry about that. Not gonna lie, there wasn't a whole lot to it. Most of it was basically sanding on the filler I did, the sanding. I filmed myself repainting this thing to get the badge looking good. The only thing that is probably a bit of a loss is I did film myself recovering this guy right here. And that might have been somewhat useful to folks who have never done it before and might kind of want to see how I did it. Not to say that my way of doing it was the best way, but it definitely got the job done. But anyway, where we are now with this is we are at the point where we are going to have to reinstall the Tolex on this guy right here. I have to get, one of the other things I did as well is I reinstalled the cleats, re-glued these cleats and stuff in the back. I had to cut a new cleat right here to match up. This thing goes across here. I'm going to have to cut another one of these to go across here down at the bottom. I filled in these big gouges that were in the bottom here. I had to refill the holes where the speaker handle, or where the handle was, because they were broken out by the previous people. It was a big mess. I mean, there was a lot of stuff I did, so in that respect it kind of stinks that I lost the footage, but it wasn't the most exciting of stuff. It was a lot of filling and a lot of gluing and then a lot of sanding. So either way, what we're going to concentrate on this one is to get another one of these cut, get that covered in Tolex, get this covered in Tolex, and then basic reassembly of the amplifier. So hopefully there's still some interesting stuff left to do on this project, and if you want to join me for that and see how it all turns out, by all means stick around. Okay, now the first thing I think I'm going to accomplish is just getting this Yamaha badge put back on here. One of the mistakes I made in covering this thing is that I do not know at this point where this thing was exactly, and there are still a couple of holes in here from the original screws, which I have the screws right here. So here's what I'll do. I'll use a toothpick and I'll see if I can kind of find in the general area where the original hole is. Like, this is about the spot that it should be in. I mean, it's upside down to me, but you can kind of see. Gives a good indication of where it's supposed to be on there, and that's kind of where it is right here. So that gives me a good start as to where to kind of look for these, for the screw hole on this. Found it. Found the first screw hole right there. Perfect. Okay. See? So sometimes using your brain can help. So So if I do that, I can get another one of these guys and see if I can. And there's it. Yep, found the other screw hole right away. Perfect. Okay, so this is right where this goes, is right here. So, and there's my daughter filling up her water bottle. Always trying to get into the act.
I ruined it.
What was that in English? I'm sorry.
I ruined it.
You didn't ruin it. It's all good. Okay, so one thing I'm going to do is I've got a dampened cloth here. I'm just going to kind of go over and try to get all the dust and the crap off of this thing, because you don't want this thing to be dirty, you know, full of sawdust or whatever, because then the contact cement that you're going to use on it may not work very well. Okay, so I've run into a bit of a snag here. The Tolex that I had purchased, I purchased for literally, I don't know, 5 years ago. It's been sitting rolled up in a box in my garage for 5 years. I bought it for a completely different project, and I knew that the cabinet I bought it for was the same basic size and shape as this one, so I figured I had plenty of it. The thing is the cabinet I bought it for was gonna be, I was gonna do it in the style of like how Fender does their cabinets, where you cover one side a little bit and have it overhang just a touch, and then you cut it off right here, and then on the top and bottom you just get one more piece. After you get both sides in, you get one more piece and you overlap it. It just has bare ends on that. And if I did that way on this, I would have enough. But I'm not 100% sure I want to do it that way, because I want to, if I'm going to do it with this black Tolex to try to make it look like it used to look, then I want to do it the Tolex like it was originally done on this. So now this has got me thinking that if I'm going to have to order new Tolex for this, so I have enough to do it the way I want to do it, maybe I could kind of flash this up a little bit and get some different style Tolex and not even try to go for the original look on this. Let me think on this for a second. Let me decide what I want to do, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so what I've decided to do is I'm not going to order anything new. I mean, I was thinking about doing some, crazy colors on this thing and really making it, kind of stand out and pop. But one thing I came up with for an idea is I can utilize this same black Tolex that I had. I don't have enough to go around the sides, to go around the whole thing like I had described, but I do have enough to cut it into sections, do this side and then that side. And I could theoretically just do, just like I said, like with the Fender style, and go over the top and the bottom with it. And I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do that. I have this white Tolex I recovered a cabinet a long time ago, and I rehoused a Fender Blues Junior that I have, that ended up giving to my son. I put it in a larger, took everything out of the Blues Junior, put it into a larger cabinet, and then recovered that cabinet in a two-tone with white and like a cool, I don't know, like a tannish brown. It looked really good when I was done. It had an oxblood grill cloth and all that. It looked great. But I've had this left over ever since. And this is just, I think I got this out of just like a regular fabric store. This isn't even like, it's like Tolex. It's like a vinyl of some sorts. But it's a soft vinyl. It feels very leathery, this white does. And it seems to take contact cement just fine. So I will end up utilizing the black for the sides, do the white for the top and the bottom to give it a cool two-tone look, and I think matched up with that cream color. Who knows? If it turns out that the cream color speaker cloth doesn't work color-wise, which it might not, what I may end up doing is actually staining or even painting that grill cloth to have it be a different color. So either way, I'll do what I can to make the thing look cool, and however it ends up, we will find out once everything's done. But in the meantime, I will actually be filming myself doing all this stuff. I'll do it in fast motion so you don't have to sit through, you know, a really, really long video. But you'll get the idea of how I get this done. So, all right, stick around. Okay, so just a quick little tip here. I've used this paintbrush before to apply contact cement, and when I dip it in there, I don't like, you know, dip it all the way down, and I just kind of put the very tip of it on there, and that makes it to where these bristles end up getting stuck together. But this is a really cheap brush, and if I just kind of come across here, like that, and get off all the, you kind of want to make sure you get it on the first pass so they all stick together, but that way you can reuse the brush and all the bristles are better like that. But don't do what I do and take two passes, because then all the bristles come off. All the bristles are stuck at the top with the contact cement, so when you cut them all off, they come off in a nice little thing like that. But then I came into another pass, and I got all this shit that I gotta go throw away. So, but that's a little trick you can use. Well, we've run into a little bit of a problem here. I'm seeing something happen on this that I've never seen happen before, but then again, I've never used this type of contact cement before. But look at that, it's like all bubbling off of there. And I don't know if that's something that will repair itself once we actually stick it on here, but that kind of sucks. But you know what? I'm going to try and stick it on here anyway. We're going to see what happens. No, this isn't. No, take this off of here. That's not going to work. This thing's bubbling up real bad. I think what I have to do is I'm going to have to get some spray contact cement. So I still think using the contact cement on this will be fine, but I'm not going to be able to use it on the Tolex itself. So this stuff's ruined right here. I'll be right back. All right, so what I have here is some 3M Super 77, which is what I've used before. I've never used contact cement like this to do this, so I've always used this stuff before, but I've also had kind of mixed results. Not to say it doesn't stick, but it doesn't always stick that great. So I'm hoping with this contact cement on here, this will stick a lot better. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this stuff outside real quick, because I don't want to spray this stuff inside my house. I'm going to take this outside, do a quick spray on it, and then I'll come back inside once that's done, and we'll apply this stuff. So I'll be right back. Alright, so one thing we're going to want to do here, I got those pieces all over the place here. I'm going to need to use some Goo Gone on this table when I'm done too. So one, probably not one, but the biggest reason why you want to do this stuff outside as opposed to in your kitchen or dining room. Anyway, you can see all the wrinkles in this, and I already put one side on this thing and I didn't flatten it out in any way, and the wrinkles look like they might be a problem, which is going to suck, but you know, live and learn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a heat gun to see if I can get some of the wrinkles out of this thing in the hopes that it won't be as bad in putting it on. So. Alright, so here's the thing. This Tolex still has a lot of wrinkles in it that I'm having trouble getting out. I used the heat gun on the stuff that I had already applied to the cabinet, and I wasn't even keeping it on one spot. I just was kind of going back and forth, and there was one particular spot that just melted and just ruined what I put on there. So I had to basically remove everything that was on there. So needless to say, I'm more than just a little bit irritated right now. I still have enough. I've ruined two pieces already, you know, half of the Tolex that I had, and I was using what was at the time the kind of flatter of the two, flatter half of the halves that I had. And this stuff is more wrinkly than the other stuff, so I don't even know if this is going to be usable. And I don't want to waste my time trying to flatten this stuff out on here. You know, maybe once this thing posts, once I get on here, whatever I get on here, somebody will be able to explain to me a way of doing this that will keep it from getting all wrinkly and nasty and looking like shit like I had it. Or maybe I should, you know, go look up how to put wrinkly Tolex on. That's the thing, every time I've worked with Tolex before, I've always done it fairly, not with stuff that's been sitting in my garage for 5 or 6 years. It's been a fresh roll that hasn't had a chance to get all wrinkly like this. So, you know, I don't even know, like I said, I don't even know if this is, over there, I don't even know if this is going to end up being usable. I mean, I'm sure it will be. I think just a lot more care is going to have to be used to put it on, and a lot more patience is going to have to be displayed than I actually have to give. So, plus the fact that I don't even know if I've got some other ideas as to some, I mean, I might end up ordering some Tolex that will work the way I want it to work. I need to get some measurements on this thing and see what I need. I'm a little disheartened right now, I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of pissed off. I just spent, you know, literally about 35 minutes getting this one piece worked on to, you know, get all the corners right, to make it look good, to make it, you know, and to have it get messed up like that is just, I don't know, it's disappointing to say the least. So I'm gonna step away from this project for a little bit and figure out how I want to proceed, if I still want to use the black and go black and white, or if I want to do different colors or something, and I don't know. I'm going to figure it out and figure out what I want to do, and I guess I'll be back after that. All right, it's a few hours later. I've had a chance to kind of calm down and not be as pissed off about this as I used to be. I went back up into my little stash of material and stuff too that I had. Only because I always try to find, you know, I go to fabric stores and stuff and come across types of material that I think might work for either covering amplifiers or, you know, being used for grill cloth and whatever. And I actually have this kind of a, you know, burgundy red stuff. It's kind of reminiscent of the material you'd find on a bench at Pizza Hut. You know, one of the seats at Pizza Hut. So the only thing is that it's fairly thick. I mean, I think this is actual upholstery stuff, so it's pretty thick. But I have it, so I'm gonna try and use it. I'm gonna try and put it on and see how it turns out. If it ends up being shit, I'll pull it off and start over again. But either way, I'm thinking between the red and the white, this actually matches the color of the front of the chassis really well, so this might match pretty good. So I'm gonna use this stuff and we'll see how it ends up, and I'll be back. Okay, so I'm at a point where I'm pretty happy with this thing. I ended up using this thick red stuff. Like I said, this is more upholstery. This isn't really Tolex, this is upholstery. I still need to go over it a little bit here and there with some Goo Gone so I can get it cleaned up. Maybe we can see a little better that way. Got little bits and pieces of tape on here. I'm actually, I gotta be honest, I'm actually kind of happy that that black Tolex did not work, because I think this is gonna look a lot better on this. This actually went down really smooth. It seems to be adhering just fine. I just used that Super 77 stuff. All of the little corners here, the ones that are going to be visible are these two here and these two here, and that's pretty much it. And I got those cut pretty good. I mean, I don't do this stuff all that often, so I wasn't really expecting it to turn out really all that great, but it did turn out pretty good in my opinion. They're straight cuts. The seams have come together pretty well. Maybe a little bit of finagling, you know, here and there, but for the most part, they cover well. Everything's good. All the other corners, they look good. There's no problem with the other corners, but they're all going to be covered with the chrome corner protectors, so it's not going to matter anyway. But at this point, I've got, oops, got my straight edge here because I'm going to need that. I've got the white stuff here that I'm going to put. God, this might end up looking like a candy cane, but oh well. But I have the white stuff here that I just need to take a measurement from the inside of this to the inside of this, and just cut a rectangular piece. And all it is going to do is just going to come right in here, fold under, go right over the back, and fold under. Same thing on the bottom. So the hard part on this is kind of done, but I am very happy with how it turned out. So what I will do now is I will actually measure this part off, and I'll leave the camera running for this, and I'll just go through fast forward on it, but I'll measure this off, get it cut, and start getting it installed on here. Okay, so I got the bottom part on here before I turn it back over because I'm getting glue on the table, which I'm gonna have to clean up here. I didn't want to get glue on this bottom piece, so I had to put the feet back on this. So if I put it on here, it's not getting glue all over the Tolex. So it went on fairly straight, not perfect, but decent. It's on the underside of it though, so I'm hoping that was kind of practice for this one, which should hopefully go on a lot better, a lot more smooth, and a lot more evenly, so it'll look better. But I'll get back to that one in just 1 second. Okay, so we've got it pretty much done here. One thing I realized I forgot to do was to re-drill, damn it, forgot to re-drill for the handle up here. Shit. Well, hopefully we can get it done without it having to be too big of a production. I've tried to do it before on things after I put the Tolex on, and the problem ends up becoming when I do that, I try to drill it down and it ends up like the Tolex will separate a little bit around the hole and will fill up with sawdust. So you get these little mounds here. And I want to try, and I mean, it's not that huge of a deal because it'll end up getting hidden under the covers for the handle anyway. But it still is not, you know, it's not how I want it to look. So. Okay, so it's the next day here, and as I kind of suspected and was a little bit fearful of, there's parts of this that have not stayed down. I thought you can see, you know, right there, kind of all around, a little bit way up there, that little spot right there. So I am going to have to come back in, and I will probably use just the normal contact cement as opposed to just the spray, because I don't want to keep getting the spray everywhere. I've got to clean up as a bitch on that spray because it gets everywhere, and I really honestly kind of regret using it in my dining area. But I mean, I can clean it up, it's just a pain in the ass. So I'm going to use the contact cement in the hopes that it doesn't screw this stuff up like that other Tolex. But the good news is that this stuff is much thicker and much more hardy, I think. So I don't think it'll mess up quite as bad. But I will do that, and we'll be back. for some reason, you know, maybe it's just that thing's just not long enough. That might be what it is. That thing got in there. Maybe that's what it is. It's just not long enough. I might need to find me another bolt. See, every time I go to put it in there, it's just it's like it starts to hit something, but then it just falls and doesn't have anything to grab onto. But when I put it, yeah, because when I'm putting it in there and it actually grabs onto that thing, it's below the height of that. So the thing is, I think I see what it is. Let's need a few more taps with this here hammer, maybe. See what that gets us. Ouch. That might do us. There it goes. Okay. Yeah, that sucked that up there good. So, all right. So we got ourselves a handle on here now. Woohoo! All right, here she is. About as complete as she's gonna get. I still have a couple other small things I have to do. I've got this thing right here is missing I don't know where that came from or why that's missing. I didn't realize that was gone before, but I've got a 3-prong jack, a little outlet thing right there, or a plug that I can put on there. I thought it would be easy fix. The other thing is there's a grounding wire that needs to go from the chassis to the speaker frame that I don't know where it is. I mean, it was one that had a cut end with two things at either end, where one of them was put onto the chassis with this little screw and all that, and then just went onto one of the posts on the speaker. Now, here's the part that sucks. I had everything going in good, And then I got to the point where I was putting the baffle on, and I've got little, because I had staples that I had to put along the side of this to keep it in there, and they caught on and ripped the Tolex right here, going up and down here. So that sucks. But I'm thinking if I don't know how I'm going to fix that, if I can. I mean, that's torn all the way through right there, it looks like. But the other ones I might be able to get like a, I don't know, a red Sharpie and a black Sharpie and kind of combine the inks a little bit. And I might be able to fix it. But other than that, hey, you know what? I'm done with this. It's good. It looks good. I mean, I think it looks pretty cool. I got no problems with it. It's functional. It's looks 100 times better than it did. I got a little piece sticking out here. See, this is part of it too. It's putting this thing in. I also, because I had to use a mallet to kind of force it in, which should have been a hint. Ugh, I'm mad at myself. I'm mad at myself when I get impatient and I screw things up. But I had to tap this corner, so now it's kind of flattened. The weave on it is kind of flattened right there, and you can. I mean, you can't tell on camera, but it's kind of tough to tell unless you're right on top of it looking for it too. So, but either way, it looks 100 times better than it did. It really did. If you go back and look at the original video, which I will put a link to down in the description, and it will be, I think it'll be pretty cool. I think it is pretty cool. I'm sorry. I think it works. So aside, oh, and the other thing I have to do too, this is the one thing I forgot. In the back, the wood that goes across the back, I still have to cover that with this, and I have to cut a second one and cover that as well. But once that's easy. That's not even worth filming because it's so simple. But I'll get those done and I'll get them put on. Oh, this is something else that I did not, that when I lost the footage, this is something that got lost too, was I found the some chicken head knobs with set screws in it. I mentioned in the first video on this thing that these, normally when you have, these have the shafts on these things are D-shaped shafts. And normally when you have a D-shaped shaft like that, you put these things on and the flat side of the shaft is 180 degrees away from where the pointer is supposed to go. But on these, they're 90 degrees away. So finding replacement chicken heads for this that go on a D shaft, just I couldn't do it. Couldn't find them anywhere. So I just ended up getting some of the set screw. And even though it's a D shaft, it's not like it's just a half circle. It's a little more than a half circle with a flat side. So there's a little bit of meat there, I guess you could say, on the shaft where I was able to actually get these to. Oh, you know what? I can probably let's plug this in. How about that? Yeah, crazy idea, huh? Actually demoing the friggin' thing. You can see that's turning there. Let's go down to number 11. Recall that. Let's try number 2. There's only one of them gone. I wonder if these are so tight on here that oh, there they go. You know, it looks like I am going to have to. Let me. Are these? You know what? I have a Allen wrench I'm going to have to use on these. It looks like they might be, pushed down just a little bit tight on this, and that might be why they are not moving like they're supposed to. But I'm sure I can fix that. More of them are going now. Now it's going. It looks like it's just a matter of getting them to where they're not so tight on here. and I'll be able to move. So, see, now I want to get that done before I call this thing finished. It's my OCD. Yep, so let me, you know what, it's nighttime. I don't want to work on this thing anymore today. Let me get a good night's sleep. I will get my Allen wrench out, loosen those things, pull them out ever so slightly, because I don't want them to, they still have to be able to stay on there. And then I'll tighten them back down, and we'll give this a proper demo in the morning. So, all right, so it's the next day here. I got these things moving for the most part. I'm still getting an E1 on here, which means one or more of the motors is probably bad, or it's just not getting enough. It'll pop up E1 here, I think, in just a second. But turn that down for a second. But it's working. I mean, it's just the motors on here. See, there it goes, E1. The motors on here are probably, you know, old and need to be replaced. They'll still turn. It's just they may not turn all the way to where they're supposed to turn to. In which case, you know, well, too bad, so sad. I'll be honest with you, I'm at the point where I'm ready to be done with this particular project, and I'm ready to move on. So this guy, I'm going to call it finished at this point, but it sounds good. It's got a nice sound to it. That's at 3 on the output, and it is screaming loud. Oh man, that thing, it's, again, I know I always say this, you can't tell with the microphone on the camera because it's got compression on it, but goodness gracious, that's loud. Probably the worst rendition of Van Halen ever. So, anyway, like I said last night, I still have to make the piece that goes across, the two pieces. I have to make one piece to go across the back. I have to cover both pieces that go across the back. And I have to add a grounding wire from the chassis to the speaker frame. But other than that, this thing's done. I am so ready to move on to the next project on this. I've already taken up way too much time getting this thing put back together. But other than the little problems I had over here that I colored in with a combination of the two Sharpies. And if you're looking for it, you'll see it. But if you're not, it's a pretty little amp. So we're gonna say this guy is good to go, finished, happy. So thank you for watching the channel. If you like what you see, make sure you click subscribe, which I want to say is what, down in that corner, right down there. I also got some first video will be right up here. Make sure you click on that one to see what I did with the replacing of the fuse and all that good stuff. And I hope you liked what you saw. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.